Hi, I'm Elliot Coulter, and I'm here with,
Bryce Coefield.
and we're going to read through some poems together and talk about his reactions and my reaction. Would you be interested in reading this?
Yeah, it'd be great. Okay. This is Prejudice and Epiphany. His students let fly his use of the terminology color people. It was a historic, given he's our U.S. history teacher. Of course, I didn't. His teaching, his story, me being a person of color, heaven forbid of colored people origin, as if scribbled with Crayola in a coloring book. Strange his pedagogy, given I, the lone sprout, being of abstract ethnicity, and his of concrete certainty, hence my objection. What color were they? The silence epic, his epiphany calculating. I'm no for such revelatory utterances. Repercussion? Instant indignation. At that moment I became the teacher. He found enlightening my pedagogy. Knowledge misplaced is best amended from within rather than from without. Unconscious bias has been his people's bread. Breadcrumbs dispersed upon the path leading to prejudice and privilege. He sees more clearly now. He knows me as a person of color and not as colored people. Don't worry, you'll experience the epiphany.
What is your initial reaction?
Yeah, in some ways, like this is the story of my life, right? I mean, I don't. He says U.S. history. I'm assuming probably like in high school or something. Hopefully, high school, not college. That would be something. If although it wouldn't be too surprising if it was a college professor that hadn't yet had an epiphany. But yeah, I think there's a phrase where it says him being the lone sprout, right? And that sense of loneliness and loneliness that people of color experience in a lot of predominantly white educational spaces.
Yeah.
And the position that we are in that requires us in moments like this, when someone says colored people, or when someone's like, oh, we're talking about slavery, what are your thoughts on slavery? Where, you being potentially the only one have to decide, okay, do I give in to this sort of need or request and like represent an entire people group, and there being huge problems with that, or do I not? The consequence of that being learning that needs to occur.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that ends up being such a dance that we end up having to do oftentimes, right? Is when and where and how and this entire interaction is just it was actually really exciting. The first time I read it, I was just smiling. I was like, yeah, I could totally see that, right? Where he says like he's known for being the one that ends up kind of pushing back in a way that he's not going to allow things to fly. And I think similarly, I've been in positions where I'm like, yeah, no, like I can't allow what just said to go because in a way, silence isn't neutral. I think we tend to think like, oh, if we're just silent, it's like we'll just let it fly. It's fine. No, silence ends up being affirming, right?
Yeah.
And particularly when there are oppressive things that are said, individual silence perpetuates that oppression. Right? And so I think speaking up is important, but it's always at a cost. So, in particular, he says repercussion, instant indignation, right? So, like this idea of like, what are the repercussions? What are the consequences of pushing up against an authority figure, someone with power, someone with privilege, someone whose prejudices have been exposed? Right, being in that position said, what do I do now in this moment? Is a question that I've wrestled with many times. So I think that was my initial response. Is like, oh yeah, I can 100% relate to this. And in a way, that's kind of the work that I'm doing now, right? I'm still a student, but in my professional sort of work, that's the dance I do, right? How do I remain conscious and increase consciousness of folks' unconscious biases, of the ways in which those biases have bled into our policies and bled into the sort of culture, the unspoken or explicit rules about how we behave or who we're supposed to interact with. So I think in my work is still doing that. figuring out how to strategically call to light some of these things in a way that creates change.
I think those are the only questions I had on this, unless you had any other input on it.
No, this is great. This is I'm glad this is here. I wish I would have read this poem when I was younger, because I think, for me, having grown up in or gone to school in a lot of predominantly white spaces, situations like this, I don't know if I realized others also experience. Right, and now as I'm older, I can see how it's very, very common, unfortunately. But I think had I had opportunity to read this when I was younger, it would have given me more courage in moments to be like, oh, okay, I can say something and not necessarily operate out of a place of fear, or to be able to to remain silent, knowing that that is an option that I have. Right, and there's that freedom. I think that's what I'm looking for. There's freedom in seeing your experience mirrored, right? And giving options. So I love it.
If you guys want to read the rest of this book, or if you want to read books like it, I'm going to put links below for how you can purchase the book and more information on our publishing company and what types of poetry collections we do produce. So if you want to see that, go ahead and look in the links below. And I'm Elliot Coulter.
And Bryce Coefield.
And that's all we have for today. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.